Hey YouTube, Audio Olympian here, back with another video coming to you from Audio Olympia, where the world meets through music, movies, and speakers. Okay, today's video is just kind of a follow-up part 2 to the $1 Million Home Theater Tour that I was able to take in Atlanta back in December. And I wanted to make a part 2. I've got a few questions on the last video that I had, but there was also a few things that I wanted to cover and go over without making that video really long. And there was another room that I wanted to show you guys I thought was pretty exciting and really cool theater room that they had in their facility. And also to give you a little bit of heads up and idea on what some things I'm going to be doing on my Instagram channel from here on out. So let's get into that video. If this is your first time visiting our channel, we want to welcome you. Thanks for stopping by. If you like what we do and you like what you see, then you know what to hit. Okay, so one of my other reasons for doing this video was when I first did the upload of the first video, my last video there, it got a copyright strike. So I had to take it down and upload a new one. And I had to take the Ready Player One video clips out of it. That was the copyright claim. So I do want to apologize to some of the first viewers of the last video because I had like 40 or 50 views on that one, and a few people did some comments, and I did not get a chance to reply to them and say thanks for watching and thanks for your support. So I wanted to do that now, but also let you guys know that's what happened, because when I took the first video down, it deleted everything to it. I re-uploaded the second one, and I wasn't very happy with having to change the video clips to only photos for the Ready Player One. I kind of did find a loophole though with this. If you do go and follow me on Instagram at Audio Olympian, Instagram does allow us to share the reels, and we can put music and video clips there, and they don't get copyrighted or blocked. That's where I'm going to be sharing a lot more of other clips and videos. So don't forget to go follow us on Instagram at Audio Olympian. Okay, for those of you that saw my last video, you know that I went down to Atlanta for family vacation, got a chance to go and check out Atlanta Home Theater. That facility was just magnificent. If you didn't see that video, I'll link it down in the description here. You can go and check that video out as well. I did go and see another place over there called Hi-Fi Buys, which has high-end audio. And what I got to experience over there was magnificent super systems, right? I'm talking $100,000 systems and above. And it was just mesmerizing, and it did change my perspective on home theater and home stereo. My initial perspective change was on the rooms. I noticed the rooms in both of those facilities or establishments, they were very well built, well designed rooms. And so what that did was that really captured all the sound that the speakers were reproducing, whether it was the music or the movies. And there was a difference that I did notice going from Hi-Fi Buys, which was just the audio, more of a 2-channel shop, going into Atlanta Home Theater. Those rooms were totally different and on a whole nother level. They really were. One of the rooms that was in there, I didn't get a chance to get any photos of it or record anything, which I should have. I wish I would have, but they had a room that was under construction, and when you walked into it, it sounded like you were walking into a pair of noise-canceling headphones. It was crazy. As soon as you walked in, all the sound was gone. At least all the ambiance and outside sound of rooms. And the sound that we don't realize we're getting or catching in our own rooms, especially if you have a setup like in a living room, a bedroom. I noticed in their rooms, though, at the Atlanta Home Theater, totally designed for home theater. So when we listen to those clips or watch the movie clips, they were just spectacular. And I know a lot of it had to do with the design of the room. The room is designed for sound absorption, sound isolation, reverberation, and sound deadening. They got to dampen the sound down as well. And when you can cross all those platforms there and make sure your room meets all the standards for each one of those categories, now it takes your room to a whole nother level. And I got to experience that there at Home Theater, Atlanta Home Theater. Now the speaker system they used in their main home theater, which is the $1 million home theater setup in there, was a company called Wisdom Speakers, or Wisdom Audio, which I have never heard of them until I went to the Atlanta home theater place. They're specifically designed for home theater speakers, to the point where even the sales guy who was very friendly and gracious enough to give us a tour on a late Friday evening when they were practically closed, but he stayed after and toured us of the whole place there, which I thought was very, very generous and kind of them to stay open and do that for us. And he even talked about how a lot of their speakers in their rooms are designed specifically for home theater, meaning you're probably not going to get great musical sound off of those. And I've always felt if a speaker can produce sound, it should be able to sound decent for both music and movies. But I did notice, coming back and listening to my system, a little bit lack of clarity. Now, one, I'm going with that it's the room development that is going to help with that. However, I did look up the Wisdom Audio speakers. Here's a quick shot of some of their speakers that they have on their website. You can go and check out their website. It doesn't really have any prices, so I couldn't really look anything up, and I didn't call them to find out what the cost is. But I'm going to go on a limb here and say that they are going to be in the high cost price range of speakers, specifically because of their design. One of their speakers I looked at here on the page is shipping weight 550 pounds. I didn't look at the whole detail of the speakers. It was one of their freestanding speakers, but 500-pound speaker. That's a pretty monstrous, magnificent mega speaker that you would get there. So I can understand that's not going to be in that $5,000 range for a speaker, maybe not even a $10,000 range for a speaker. That's probably going to be somewhere in the $50,000 and above range, either for the pair or even just for one. I'm not sure. But the design of those speakers, what I did realize, I think was also what makes a difference for them for movies, is they are line array speakers, or most of them were. If you're not sure what a line array speaker, here's a quick shot of one. I've always kind of been anxious to hear a line array of the Carver line array speakers. Now, again, you can see all the woofers that are there. Also, the thing that really intrigues me is all of the tweeters, and then some of them will even have lots of woofers, lots of mid-range, and lots of tweeters there. And to me, I know what that does. They say that helps give you an enormous sweet spot, because you're projecting so much sound across the entire room. You're not going to get any beaming from any area. Of course, the design and the crossover network has to be done properly in order for that to be achieved. And again, I didn't really look too much at the details of the Wisdom speakers. I'm assuming they're very, very tall and high as well, because I did notice when I had switched from my Paradigm Founder speakers here at my front channel, I replaced back with my Golden Ear Triton reference speakers, that the reference had a more cascading sound, and I would attribute that to the height of the speaker. And I think the Wisdom speakers there are somewhere between maybe 6 to 7 feet high. Don't quote me on that. Again, I didn't really look at all the details on it. And they may have some that are different height. They may even have some that are bigger than that. They probably have some that are smaller than that. But the ones that we were listening to in that $1 million home theater, I believe they're at least a 6 foot to 7 foot height speaker. Line array. So lots of woofers, lots of tweeters, which gives you a way different diverse sound than you're going to get from your traditional box speaker, even your traditional three-way speaker. However, it didn't have that soft mid-range or that nice low depth of woofer, or the low depth of bass level from a woofer. It was more pitchy. It was a lot more clear, a lot more higher tone. So you can kind of think of it like possibly concert speakers. So that's what the sound and the speakers were like there in the $1 Million Home Theater, much like a commercial movie theater. So a couple of questions I got from some of the viewers was, how do I think they compare to my Golden Ear Triton references, and which would I prefer? I'm still sticking with mine, right? How did they fare and compare? Well, those ones were way more amplified. They probably were a little bit cleaner, a little bit more higher end clarity there on the top end. But again, they were lacking a lot more in that mid-range and that bass area, where the conventional speakers that we have here in our houses don't. Some of them focus on that, and then some of them really emphasize that, which gives it a much more better all-around sound. Then we went into the other room that had this setup here, and I'll show you the clip in the video here.
So like this here looks like a sound bar. It's a speaker bar. You got your left, your center, and your right. They make this in different sizes. They make it in 65, 75, 85, but it's identical. The on-wall version of these looks like what's in the back of the room. So that's just one of the 3 speakers that's built in here. They make an in-ceiling version that's the same thing. They make an in-wall version that's the same thing. And then they make their own amplifiers. And that's what we like about them, is that their amp is designed for their speakers and for their subwoofers. So we always get the same results.
So that room was crazy, so cool. It was kind of like walking into this copper submarine. I don't think that's a room that most people would like to have in their house as their permanent home theater. And I don't even think that's a room that they would design for a lot of people. I think that was mostly a room to just show like, hey, these are the things that we can do. However, going in there, 5.1 system, actually 5.2, I had never heard of the Theory audio speakers either. They're much like the Wisdom speakers, where they're only designed for home theater. 2 subs, you had that sound bar in the front that in-house the center channel, the front right and the front left channel up there. Or front left, front right. I'm reversed to you guys. And then they had 2 rear speakers in the back, and then the 2 subs. That room was rocking. He played a clip of the Book of Eli, and the sound was magnificent. Even though it was a lot smaller room, you were still able to catch a lot of the activity. It had great agility. Energy was moving, very powerful. The subs rocked in there. And the soundbar in the front with the 3 speakers, your front stage there, still really gave you a good massive sound stage up in the front. So I was quite shocked on that. But again, they were not cheap. I want to say, geez, that whole system for 5 speakers and 2 subs, because you have to buy specific amplifiers that go with those speakers, it was probably somewhere like $15,000, maybe $20,000, and designed specifically for home theater. And as you heard in that clip there, he even says, you know, this is probably not going to sound very good for music. However, I would still like to hear music in those theater rooms. I wish I would have been able to play some just to hear. Again, probably a little bit more pitchy and high-toned on the high range, so similar to maybe like clip speakers. So coming away with everything, some of the things that I've kind of felt over the past few weeks here now, and things that I've been doing. One, I'm going to really work on my room. I want to try to sound isolate as much as I can, but also not necessarily, actually do some sound deadening, because I've come to realize some of the material that is being used for sound deadening doesn't really dampen or sound deaden the way we think or it should. It probably helps get rid of echo to a certain degree, but that's about it. And having walked in those rooms over there, again, it was like imagine walking in a giant pair of noise canceling headphones, and imagine your room being like that. Now, of course, I understand, I know a lot of people are going to say, you don't want a totally dead room because that's not good for the sound either. The sound wasn't, that's the thing of it, where it wasn't a dead room where everything was just so flat. It just was, the rooms kept all the sound out. So when you walked in there, you didn't hear anything else but you and whoever else was in there. So not like an anechoic chamber where that absorbs all the sound that's in the room as well immediately. These aren't designed that way. So I'm going to be working on my room here, really trying to sound isolate as best as I can and try to sound deaden outside as much as I can to keep the sound outside of my room. All right, so that's about all I have for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.